Leah represents innocence. Leah represents hope. She's smart, she's resourceful, she has powers of her own. She represents everything that humanity can be.
We wanted Leah to be someone that you would imprint on, that you would enjoy coming back and talking to. She's someone you care about.
What happens to her in Diablo 3 sort of represents the ultimate tragedy and what's going to happen to everybody if you, the player, doesn't stop it.
I remember as we were developing the initial beats of Diablo 3, one of the designers had this idea for an NPC. It was this girl that you would meet out in the middle of the woods, and she had this bow and seemed pretty cool, and there was some suggestion that she might have been the daughter of the Wanderer from Diablo 2. We had created the character of the Dark Wanderer, who was supposedly the hero from Diablo 1 that had defeated Diablo the first time, and had, in an exorcist kind of way, taken Diablo's spirit into himself. So the subplot of Diablo 2 was that this Wanderer now, with Diablo's spirit within him, would head to the east, always east, to exorcise this demon from his soul.
We travel together, east. Always. Into the east.
Her mother was the witch Adria. Adria was a character that occurred in Diablo 1. I think we look at her as this woman who is obsessed with the occult, with arcana, with chasing, mysteries and magical powers over the course of her life.
She meets with the Dark Wanderer and falls in love with him, and at this point he has been corrupted by Diablo, and she bears his child, and this child is Leah.
It was clear that she was not fit to be a mother, and potentially she had her own dark mission, such that Adria gave up Leah for adoption. Ultimately, it was Cain, one of the few survivors of the original tragedy of Tristram. Cain recognized that this baby is very special, kept her safe, for the past 20 years.
He potentially knows that evil is lurking within her, but because he carries so much guilt from the past games, trying to help people understand that the sky is falling and not really taking action, that he felt that he needed to take her on and raise her the right way. But on the other end, he's like, if this girl, as so much looks sideways, it would be my job to actually take her out.
The character of Leah was raised by Cain. And since she was a little girl, he's been roaming around the map doing his research.
Looking for pieces of this thing called the prophecy of the end days. He's trying to piece it together and interpret it to figure out what he can do to stop the end times from coming. What can mankind do when the forces of hell show up to defeat them?
All that while, he's teaching Leah to be his apprentice.
He would have been constantly talking to her about these types of things, At the end of days, angels and demons, will fight on the land of man. And this being this little girl and not really having seen these things, this all kind of turns into this, you're just crazy, I love you, but, it's okay.
And she doesn't believe because she hasn't lived through the events of Diablo 1 and 2, right? She's never really seen an angel or a demon. So she doesn't really believe in all his wacky theories.
But when she closes her eyes, she's tormented by these visions, right? And are these visions real, or are they just, the kooky, words from her uncle? And they're starting to merge, right? The vision starts to become reality.
Leah, are you all right, my girl?
It was nothing, Uncle.
Over time, she is learning all these skills. And at some point in Diablo 3, we really come to a point where she really must step up and be the successor, even though she doesn't believe as he did. Has she seen enough to begin to believe that what he saw coming was true, and that she needs to kind of respond to her own hero's call?
I never believed all your crazy tales. The work. You never finished.
She realizes that, no, there are some truths here, and she needs to make a decision whether or not she's going to step in and pick up these writings and sort of be this new Cain for us.
I will finish it, Uncle. I will carry on for you.
Tyrael, as a mortal now, begins to rely on Leah as that Deckard Cain role. Together they help pretty much uncover Diablo's maneuverings and what he's been planning under the surface of all of this all along.
Even in the heart of heaven, Angels can still feel fear.
And in trying to solve the riddle of how does Diablo come back yet again, we kind of had the ideas of, well, maybe he comes back this time through his mortal offspring.
All the way back to the Great Exile, that this has all been Diablo's plan. At a certain point, he discovered the idea of the Prime, the idea that all the evils could become one and become exponentially more powerful than they'd ever been before. And that essentially, the last 300 or so years has been his plan to off all the other evils.
And now, for the first time, all the essences of these 7 primevals now go into Leah. She turns into Diablo and becomes the one primeval.
It fits with a lot of the stories that were told in the original Diablo and Diablo 2, where we see really precious characters succumb to this kind of corruption and madness and evil. And so this was an opportunity for us to take a character that the player got to directly interact with, and hopefully that the player really likes, and see that exact thing happen to her. It was just too evil for us to resist.
To see her father, Diablo, take her over and turn her into a demon lord is the greatest tragedy we could think.
I certainly think she's tragic. It's tragic what happens to her. But I think the truth of Leah is that she is innately heroic. You know, she's a good person. But this evil was, rooted at a genetic level. And the turn that her life takes was inevitable to some great degree. When ultimately her turn comes, it feels terrible. We want you to feel like you've been socked in the gut, like, oh, anyone but her. Her spirit's still out there somewhere, right? There's a good girl there that deserves to be saved and brought back from the abyss. So while we don't have any clue yet, what subsequent chapters will be, a couple clues, I would bet that we would chase that down because it feels right from a story level and it feels right from a character level.